Hey friends, it's Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. I want to thank all of you for your caring words, your kindness, your prayers, and your support in my time of loss. And I'm recording this for you to air on Wednesday. And on Friday, I'm going to be sharing with everyone some of your very poignant messages. So many of you are suffering unbelievable, agonizing losses. And interestingly, my husband, Pastor David, and I are actually caring for others in their sorrow in our online program called Life After Loss. And for me, being supported by others is one of the most important things that we can do. So please know that my prayers are with you, and I am still not quite with it 100%. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, very sadly, my 19-year-old kitty cat, Elsie, who I rescued in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, along with several other animals. She was one of the last few that I had, and she passed away 2 weeks ago. And then sadly, Teddy Bear followed a week later. And that was 2 weeks ago. My timing is all off, which is why I did a lot of replays last week, because I was in no state to record any videos for you. But working also helps me with my grief. And so that's why I'm here for you today, because I want to bring some information to you, very important information about these shots and cocktails. We've been talking about rabies. I brought you information about TB and also about tetanus. And I want to talk to you about this very troubling bill that is coming out of a group called ICAN, ICAN. Let me know if you're familiar with that group. It is affiliated with Children's Health Defense, and Children's Health Defense has been doing a lot of great work. I've spoken about the positives coming out of their work, and then I spoke about some of the troubling aspects of RFK Jr., where he is in favor of the jabs if they, in his words, help more than harm. And that's troubling to me. We're going to dig into that in just a moment. I do have sponsors, and I want to thank the sponsor for this show. This is how I'm able to bring you these videos at no charge to you. This is basically my full-time job, and YouTube does not pay me a penny. My videos are not monetized. In fact, they're hidden. Many of you told me that YouTube unsubscribes you frequently. And I plan on remaining on this platform because I want to shine God's light of truth in this very dark world. So stick with me for these 60 seconds as I share my screen. And I've been letting you know that you can call the experts at Noble Gold Investments at 877-646-5347 to find out about protecting your investments with gold. And gold has been on an unstoppable run. It's gone up more than 81% in the last 5 years and almost 20% in the last 12 months. It is happening. Central banks are ditching the dollar, and U.S. treasuries are buying more gold. And the good news is that gold is predicted to go up even more. The investment bank UBS said that gold would go up to $5,000 an ounce. And Noble Gold Investments' phone has been ringing nonstop. It seems like everyone wants to protect their retirement with gold, and you can do the same. So if you think this is a good fit, check it out. The Noble Gold Investments experts will help you, and you'll have the same dedicated all-American expert from day one. So whether you're a beginner or an experienced investor, Noble Gold Investments will make sure you get all the help you need. Of course, there's always a risk of investment. There's no guarantee of any kind, but you can find out from Noble Gold Investments. And I also want to share with you, you can get a free 1/4 ounce gold standard coin if you open a qualified account. So go to noblegoldinvestments.com. I will have a link for you in the description box below, noblegoldinvestments.com. Friends, I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind for some time, ever since I saw this over at the ICAN website. That stands for the Informed. All right, friends, I realize I misspoke when I referenced this ICAN network, which stands for the Informed Consent Action Network, I associated with the Children's Health Defense. And the reason why I linked that in my mind is because both this ICANN network, which is actually founded by Del Bigtree, who is associated with RFK and RFK Jr., and RFK Jr. also shares the same attorney, in my understanding, Aaron Siri. So I was a little confused when I said that. But the bigger point is what this network is pushing. And so let me share my screen, and we are going to hop right on over. And this is it, Informed Consent Action Network. And if you watch Del Bigtree, you've probably heard of this because he is the founder. And there is some action that they're taking, which is very troubling to me. And here we go. I'm going to share my screen. And this is called the, I'm just going to call it what it's called, the Vaccine Confidence Bill. Does this rub anybody the wrong way that they have created a model bill to be introduced into different state legislatures? And here it is right here, working on being introduced. And it was already introduced in Idaho and Arizona, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. I'm going to break this down for you, but right off the bat, I will tell you that I don't care for the name. And I will also let you know that we reached out to this agency, to this group, and asked them to please explain why they created a bill with this name. It's like talking about vaccine safety. Like, why are those two words together? It doesn't make sense to me. So it's very short. It's only a couple of paragraphs. And what I did is I actually copied that onto a Word document so that I could show you and highlight the areas that are very troubling to me. So the first thing we need to do when we talk about anything is we need to define the terms. So this is a bill being introduced by the ICANN Legislative Action Group, an arm of Del Bigtree and the Highwire. And Del Bigtree and RFK Jr. are very close colleagues. And I think Del Bigtree might have been on his campaign trail or something, or part of the proposed, advisors for his group. So when I look over here and I see that they introduced a bill called an Act to Increase Vaccine Confidence. Well, what is confidence? Confidence is the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something, that there is a firm trust. Why would the ICANN and Del Bigtree be promoting trust and the belief that you can rely on these cocktails? It doesn't make sense to me. Let's break this down, and I'm going to let you know exactly what troubles me. And I made some of my own comments as well. So the title of this bill is an Act to Increase Vaccine Confidence. The purpose is to assure the public that an exemption exists for the required cocktails that do not meet certain minimal requirements. Well, right off the bat, you may say, Peggy, that's fantastic. Of course we want an exemption. But did you read the rest of the sentence? For the cocktails that do not meet certain minimal requirements. That means that there is no exemption for the other ones. You see, friends, you have to read between the lines, as I've coined it. And I mentioned that we reached out to ask them exactly why they created the bill with this name. And we only got an answer that said, well, because it probably will be more likely to be passed. Well, I don't like to promote this double talk. And let's go on, because I'm not in favor of this bill, regardless of the title. So the justification is that adding this exemption will increase confidence in mandated cocktails. First of all, there's no such thing as a mandated cocktail. All right. You have the right of no consent. Now, I would rather have a bill introduced in these. First of all, I don't think we need any more laws. So no, we don't need any more bills. All we need is to follow the laws that already exist, such as your right of no consent, which is your God-given right. Okay. Everything else protects your right to not have the government impose upon you or your employer or your child's college or the travel agency or the bank teller or the restaurant server, they do not have the right to impose, even your doctor doesn't have the right to impose a medical intervention that you don't want. So I don't care for this phrase, a mandated cocktail. And I certainly don't want to increase confidence in it, that you can trust on it, you can rely on it. That's going in the exact opposite direction. Am I the only one that went on their website and saw what they were doing? Sometimes I think that's the case. Like, was I the only one that went on the CDC and read all of the non-existent references about the suffocation devices? Not one of those references had anything to do with this. And once I exposed it, the CDC took the whole page down. Now you guys are telling me that the CDC took down the page about rabies. So I guess I'm the only one that goes to these pages and actually sees what they're doing. So yeah, the ICANN that you may have given money to, ask them what they're doing with it. This is what they're doing. They're promoting legislation to increase vaccine confidence there. I said it. Does that turn your stomach? Am I the only one? The purpose of this is to increase public confidence in vaccines. Oh yeah, I'm going out on a limb here. I'm not even going to use my code words. The department shall publicize that an exemption exists for required vaccines that do not meet the minimal standards provided in this part. All right, here's my commentary. And I'm going to come back to this in just a moment, but just so we can speak a little here face to face. So this promotes the idea that people can have confidence in the shots. It also reinforces the notion of these shots being required. Like, no, they might be. You may say, well, Peggy, you don't live in my state. They require them for my children to go to school. Well, you're dealing with a government agency. Why are your children going to a public school? There are so many superior alternatives. Then it states that this would only be for certain shots that do not meet the minimal standards, meaning you don't get an exemption for the other shots. How is that good? How is this something that you want to promote into a state legislature? So, okay, let's go on, shall we? I'm going to share my screen and we'll go back and take a look at the next paragraph that they have in this proposed legislation. Here we go. It says, notwithstanding any other law, that means despite any other law, even if there is another law to the contrary, a person who is required to receive the shot for any purpose may claim an exemption for the requirement. Here comes the punchline. If there is not a vaccine approved by the FDA. Okay, there's so much wrong with this that I have to repeat it. So despite any other law, a person who is required to receive a shot, first of all, who are these people that are required to receive a shot? I'm not required to do anything. That's like saying that you are required to have an abortion. You're required to donate a kidney. You're required to have a hysterectomy. You're required, and trust me, they're going to start doing that in California public schools. They're already paving the way for children to make these decisions without their parental knowledge. So first of all, no person is required to receive one, all right? Then it says they may claim. Well, may is a weak word. It should be that they have the right or they shall, but I find this very weak wording. I don't know, maybe it was an intern who wrote this law and they didn't really know what they were doing. There's so much wrong with it. They may claim an exemption from the requirement if there is not a vaccine approved by the FDA to fulfill the requirement that meets the following criteria. So again, they're putting forth this premise that a person can be required to get the shot. And then the big if negates everything that came prior to it. So then it says you can't get an exemption. That's what this bill is saying. This bill basically says you are not allowed to get an exemption if the FDA had a clinical trial that evaluated the safety for at least 1 year, because all side effects happen within 1 year. They never happen later. And just the safety, they don't even care about whether it works or not. Well, we know how well they work, but they're not even putting this in the proposed law. So again, this is the ICANN group created this, and they're trying to get it introduced into different state legislatures so that it can then be passed into law, saying that you do not have a right. That's what this says. You do not have a right to be exempt if the FDA tested its safety for at least 1 year against a control group, and get this, that got a placebo or another cocktail. The whole thing is ludicrous. This entire bill is promoting the use of cocktails. There's no other way that I can interpret it, because this is exactly what they have. You have to learn how to read between the lines. Let's continue, shall we? So number one, there had to be a clinical trial by the FDA. This is promoting the regulatory groups, the involvement of the federal government, more money that's going to go to Granny Gates and his cronies, because they're the ones that are, a lot of them, that are running these trials, these clinical trials. And what about all the people that are going to be harmed in the meantime of testing? And it's only after 1 year. The whole thing stinks. Yeah, these are pretty rotten apples. Then it says the department, the FDA, has to post on its website the injuries or diseases caused by the shot and the rate at which the injury or disease occurs. Yeah, good luck getting that done. How is that going to be enforced? And how do we know that they're even going to be telling the truth? And even if they do that, it doesn't even make sense. You're, on the one hand, you're saying it's safe, and on the other hand, you're saying it causes injuries and diseases. There's a complete disconnect here. Then the third thing, it says that the risk, this one really bothers me, and this is what RFK Jr. has been promoting, that the risk of permanent disability or death from the shot has been proven to be less than what is caused by the infection that it is tended to prevent. First of all, where is the absolute proof that any infection or disease or illness is actually prevented by these cocktails? There is none. I showed you in my video yesterday even about the tetanus shot, and we can extrapolate that all to all these others. There's no proven efficacy. It's impossible to prove. And I've spoken about that in the past. You have two people, one is jabbed, one is not, neither get sick. And you're going to count all of these didn't get sick because of the jab. It's impossible. All right. Number 4, the cocktail manufacturer has liability for the deaths and serious injuries. Oh, well, because they have liability, I'm going to go ahead and play Russian roulette and put myself into their hands. The whole thing is a disconnect. It doesn't even make sense. Then it goes on to say the public shall be informed that a person may claim the exemption. Okay, the public shall be informed. Yeah, and then what? It doesn't say that the employer is required to honor the exemption. It doesn't say that the restaurant is required to allow for that. It doesn't say that your child's college is required to allow for the exemption. Where is the enforcement mechanism? So this is, and let me show that to you again. It's right here. I can legislate the vaccine confidence bill. I'll have a link for you along with my analysis in my Substack, peggyhall.substack.com. And I want to give you a couple more. Let me stop the share here. I want to give you a couple more of my comments, because shouldn't the primary objective be to prohibit all forms of forced medical interventions? Shouldn't there be a bill introduced into these states saying that forced medical interventions are illegal? That's what this bill should state. It shouldn't be increasing vaccine confidence. It should be eliminating forced medical interventions. I do not care for this double talk, and I don't even think it's double talk. Apparently, they're in favor of safe and effective cocktails. Very, very troubling to me. I'm flabbergasted by this, friends. It also goes along. This is called the Informed Consent Action Network. In my next video, I may go on a rant again, like I am here. On my next video, I want to talk about the kind of the underside of the informed consent that most people don't realize. Most people think it is to protect them. I'm going to talk about that. And I want to thank all of you for being on board with me. Thank you for your patience as I'm trying to get myself back up and running with some new videos for you. And as always, I appreciate you being right alongside me as we march this all the way to heaven.